I was working at an assisted living for people who have dementia, basically right after my internship started. And I worked there for 3.5 or 4 years before moving on and really focusing on my private practice. But I still supervised students there on one of the units. They let me come back and supervise. But I wasn't able to go to the other unit. And the other unit was a really wonderful, it had a really wonderful group of individuals who I worked with on a regular basis. We wrote songs together, we sang together, we analyzed lyrics to songs, we talked about spirituality. It was a really wonderful group of people. And one of the things that we did was a percussion group. And so I would bring in all these ethnic drums, and we would, I'd give them to people to play, and we would all play this music together. And one of the songs that we always used in these sessions was an African chant that I think a lot of people in our field know, Funga Alafia. And so I taught them this song, and we would use it every single week for our drumming groups, every single week for 3.5 years or 4 years when I worked there. So when I stopped working there, I also stopped working with that group. And I really missed them, but I felt like it was beneficial for me to not come back and visit when I had left. But at one point, a couple of years later, it became clear that there was a need for a percussion group again on that unit. And so I was asked to supervise students there instead of the other unit. And so I was a little apprehensive because I hadn't seen these people in several years, and I didn't know how much things had changed, and I didn't know if they'd remember me. Not that would matter, but I didn't know, and it was a lot of uncertainty. So my students and I get to our first session, and I hand out the drums, and we start to sing Funga Alafia, and the folks who were in that group with me 2 years or so beforehand started singing Funga Alafia with me as if it had been yesterday that they sang it last. And I know for a fact that they hadn't actually sung that in the time that I had not been there, but they, for some reason, were able to remember those words that were unfamiliar at one point to them, but they somehow retained that information and sang the entire song with me, every note, every syllable, every word. And it just it was mind-boggling to me that they were able to remember these words to a song they had learned because I taught it to them and then hadn't sung it for a couple of years at least. But it just goes to show that just because someone's brain has a degenerative disease does not mean that they can't learn new things.